I'm resident of Colwood. This is Mark Gilman, my friend. How are you, sir?
Good, good. How about yourself?
I am really, really good, man. So, we're here to discuss the big three: Michael, Jason, and Freddy. So, out of the three, man, who's the best in your opinion, first of all?
My favorite is, and who I believe the best is Michael.
Okay.
I, I'm Team Michael all the way.
I am too. Here's the thing. Now, it's not really these two characters' fault that he came first, right? Because
Right.
because really, a lot of if you go who came first, like in slasher, it would be neither of them because you'd have to arc all the way back to like the 30s, 40s. There were slasher movies then. They didn't call them that, but they were suspense movies,
Oh yeah.
right? So really the first to me slasher is into like the 60s. It's Psycho.
hmm
So like by technicality, Hollywood, like political
hmm
shit. But so they then Black Christmas, but the big three that eclipsed all those really was the three we love and know, right?
Exactly.
So I'm with you. Michael is the smartest out of these three.
Uh-huh.
And here's the edge I think he has. He has no fear.
Right.
He's not afraid of anything. Jason is afraid of water. Michael's afraid of fire. Or sorry, Freddy's afraid of fire.
Mhm.
I gotta get your thoughts on something though with Freddy.
Okay.
How much did it shock you to find out Freddy was a father?
It kind of shocked me a lot because I had seen the first Nightmare on Elm Street many times, but it wasn't until about 5 years ago that I went through the whole series and seeing that he was a father really did surprise me. And then, spoilers, finding out that it was a daughter
Yep.
was a twist that turned it upside down on its head because, it kept leading you to believe that he had a son and that he had a daughter. So that was a nice twist to me.
Here there are telltale signs,
hmm
especially in the original, that he's a dad. And here's the biggest one, and it comes from Nancy's own mother. We were shocked to find out who it was. Now,
True.
why would you be shocked?
hmm
Because the person is someone you trusted.
Right.
I mean, it's crazy because the sequels in Nightmare on Elm Street get into he was the son of 100 maniacs and that he was, you know, a nun was raped. That's how he's conceived by mentally insane criminals.
hmm
So it sort of gets lost in all that but when you think about what the original said, it goes, well, wait a second. You sort of have to go, wait a second. Well, he was someone they still trusted because why? Well, he had a kid. He had a wife and kid.
Right.
So the real movie that needs made for Freddy is the Springwood slasher,
Yeah,
the prequel to the Nightmares,
I agree.
because and again, you don't have to show a child being raped. You just have to have the suggestion of it.
It can be implied.
Right. It can be, and that's the thing. And the murders are just simple. He murders them. That's why no one knows who's doing it. They find the bodies, obviously. So my thing with Freddy is he is terrifying to me before he's ever in a dream, right?
Yeah.
So my question to you is, who's second?
Um, for me, it's Freddy.
Okay.
I'm Freddy Krueger. He's a close second because the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and I've said this before, is my favorite horror movie.
Yep.
Halloween is my favorite series, and Michael is my favorite of the big three. But Freddy is a close number 2 for me.
I can't put Jason at number 2, and here's why. Jason wasn't the original killer in his own series. In his own series, and that's not on him. But now, in his defense, he becomes bigger than his mother, a bigger name in horror. I mean, this is the insanity of the horror genre. Jason alone eclipses his mother in name. Well, Michael, Freddy, Jason, Ghostface, Chucky. I mean, you have to go a long way before you get to Pamela.
Right.
And it's that insanity that, again, I can't put Jason at 2, so I'm with you. I got to put Freddy. What, out of all 3 of these killers, is there something that shocked you the most with any of them, other than Freddy? We talked about his shock.
That's great. Well, I will say that the sister connection between Michael and Laurie in the original Halloween 2 did surprise me.
Yeah.
That was a really big shock because, you just knew that Michael was a random crazy person in the first one, and then you find out the motive that he's trying to kill his family, and that he knew that there was one more sister, and especially in the extended TV version, it gives you all these clues. That Michael wrote the word sister, and when you went into the school in Halloween 2, and you saw a knife stuck down in the family, in the family picture on the sister stick figure.
Yep.
So, yeah, that to me that was probably the biggest. Surprise for Michael, besides the Cult of Thorn. But I would have to put that as number 1.
My number 1 from Halloween doesn't. Well, it does involve Michael, but it involves Jamie Lloyd too. When he's laying on the ground after being shot in 4, and this innocent, sweet little girl touches this evil son of a bitch, and the evil transfers into her, and you don't know it. You don't know. Like, no one's ever touched him. No one has ever literally touched him like this.
Right.
And then by the end of 4, she tries to murder her stepmother. Fails, but tries to.
Right.
And that's the beauty of 5, where they mention. I love that 5 clears that up right away. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't take them the whole movie to establish the stepmother is still alive.
Right.
So when people point out, like, well, why didn't Danielle Harris's character turn evil? It's because she didn't actually murder anyone. She didn't, like, the attempt of murder, to try to murder someone, to me, I think there was some of her fighting him, even in 4. Like, there's some, not a whole bunch, but some of her, and the real battle comes in 5, when she when he comes back to life. What I love about 5 is he is on a mission to get that back, to get what she took from him, and that's the rest of his evil. To me, all his kills in 5 are like trying to prove to himself, I can still do this shit. Like, here, like the guy who saves his life, he kills him instantly. The kills go on and on and on. 5 is a beautiful fucking movie.
Yeah, it's a really dark movie. And when I watched I watched it when you first released it, but I recently watched Five just a couple of days ago, and listening to you explain how each one of these kills was like revenge at Jamie,
Yep.
saying that it's almost like the Angelique thing that I'll kill everyone you love and everyone that means something to you one by one, and keep showing that I'm coming after you and I'm taking out everyone until there's no one left. That was a very brutal revenge story.
It is. It's to him. She
Hmm.
took something that belonged to him,
Yeah,
and it pissed him off. The
yeah,
people say the title, "The Revenge of Michael Myers," is misleading. No, it isn't.
no,
No, it's because he's not. People say, "Well, who's he getting revenge on?" Jamie.
hmm,
Not. I think a lot of people focus on Donald Pleasance, and I don't blame them because
hmm,
Donald Pleasance is a presence.
hmm,
But what you got to pay attention to is the kills. Who sees each kill? Jamie.
hmm. Right.
Jamie. Who's hidden? Here's the thing. He knows it.
Hmm.
Like if she consents him, he consents her seeing it.
Right.
That's why Rachel is killed so methodically.
Hmm.
Now I don't love the way Rachel's killed because I think they call it an aorta puncture.
Hmm.
Like Halloween movies used to have this beautiful autopsy file. I wish they still had it, where they say how each of Michael's victims died, and it
Yeah.
said aorta puncture. And it was well after the release of H2O that this was done, but now it's also mentioned in H2O that someone died from an aorta puncture, and we all know that's Rachel. But it's again, I love Five, and I know you do too. So let me ask you: in Friday the 13th, in
Hmm.
the original,
Hmm.
do you think that Jason was manipulating his mother's mind?
Um, I really don't know how to answer that one, because the first one is one that I'm still like, and I may be stupid for saying this, but
No.
I'm still trying to figure that one out. I mean, I know Pamela was doing all the kills, and Jason was the main villain from then on, but I think it could be because I've heard some people say that Jason was manipulating her, that she didn't know that he was still alive,
Yeah.
and um, was I guess was seeing her downfall and her descent. So I don't know. That's a hard question for me to answer. I'm still split on that issue.
Friday the 13th, the series itself, like the
Uh,
whole damn thing, is one big mind fuck,
it is.
beginning to end. Like, like I don't blame you, like because I I myself have gone back and watched that movie so many times. That one specifically, the first one,
Mhm.
because the thing of this is Betsy Palmer sells her ass off so much.
Yes, she does.
I mean, she literally mimics a kid's voice.
Hmm.
So, could could it be that Jason is sort of controlling his mother's mind, or I here's what I think honestly. I think Pamela is living two lives.
Hmm.
She's living the Jason drowned life, and she's living the Jason is alive life.
Hmm.
In both perils in a weird fucked up way. And yes, this is messing up the this is fucking up the franchise even more.
Right. The continuity is a mess, but like you said, it's a giant mind game. It's just, it leaves you thinking about it, wondering about it for days.
It does, and here's the thing too. She says today's his birthday.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So by celebrating his birthday, she's killing people because
Mm-hmm.
she feels her son's dead, you know,
Mm-hmm.
gone. But I think deep down she knows he's alive. She knows it. She's. I don't think she has split personality. Well, yeah, she does have split personality, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't think she's out of touch with it at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
She's just wants revenge, even though he's alive.
Mm-hmm.
To her, her son, I don't know, maybe part of him died that day. She feels enough to kill. It's
Right.
it's the mother revenge thing. People see over the years, and I get why they say this. Well, Friday the 13th just ripped off a Halloween. And here's the thing, I disagree with that strongly
Mm.
because Halloween, we know it's set on Halloween, and Friday the 13th is set on Friday the 13th, the holiday thing. That's fine. I get that comparison. But from a scene setting, they're both two different movies.
Mm-hmm.
One set in a freaking town, one set in a campground.
During the day.
Right. The whole day you're at that campground for the
Right.
biggest part of the movie. You're only in town so brief.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you could blink, you're through it. But
Right.
the campground is just, you're there.
Mm-hmm.
You're there all day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would more point to Friday the 13th part 2, sort of somewhat mimicking the opening of Halloween, where they're showing you the feet and they're going toward a building.
Right.
But, and maybe you could say Jason, yes, I would agree, is a Michael clone, but I can't look at Friday the 13th and go, well, that's a Halloween ripoff.
Mm-hmm.
I can't.
I can't either.
What are your thoughts on Roy Burns?
Roy Burns. You know what? I have a soft spot for Roy. I really do. I and usually I'm one that I side with. I love seeing like Michael Myers, go to town, and it's exciting seeing them, really doing their thing and doing it well. But for Roy, I really side with him because, you know, I don't think he was wrong because whatever crackpot was in charge of this rehab camp for runaway teenagers, or for teenagers with some kind of problem,
Yeah.
the only person that really seemed to have some kind of problem was the guy that was chopping the wood. He had a problem with anger, and you give him an axe and you tell him to chop wood. So yeah, I don't think Roy was wrong in going after the people that were in charge of this camp.
Beautiful. I agree with you 1000%. Like, here's the thing, too. Roy Burns,
Mhm.
no one has graduated better from the class of Pamela Voorhees better than
Mhm.
Roy Burns.
Yes.
The person who understood Pamela the most, even more than Jason, was Roy
Mhm.
Burns.
Yeah.
Because his sense of loss is real.
Mhm.
That there's no debating if his son's dead or alive. No, his son's dead.
Mhm.
His son's dead.
A mess.
Right. I love a mess.
Yeah. That and his other EMT buddy was mocking it and laughing about it. So I could see where that would push him to do this.
The only thing I'll say about what I really, part 5 is interesting in so many
It is.
ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think? Well, first of all, what was your take on the sheriff's accusation? Jason Voorhees is alive. Sorry.
I don't. Oh no, you're fine. I really don't know. Again, it's just I've just been
I've been of two minds that whole thing, and I'm still trying to figure my way out uh, through everything on Friday the 13th about Jason being alive and when he was, when he wasn't.
Right.
I'm still trying to figure that out. But what about you?
I think, like, for part 5, like,
Mm-hmm.
the sheriff, he makes one of the most interesting, or asks one of the most interesting questions when the mayor says they cremated his body. And I love the sheriff's comeback. Were you there, Mayor? Were you there when they cremated his body? How do you know? I love it. It's like
Yeah,
it's like two men bitch slapping one another
exactly.
verbally, and it's beautifully done by the actors.
Yeah, it is.
And I love how he takes his ashtray. He just throws it. He just throws it. It's like beautiful, but I get his point. I don't.
Mhm.
No, I didn't believe it was Jason.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna give Roy Burns this. Roy Burns had me convinced it was Tommy Jarvis.
Same.
He you know what I mean? Like
Oh
he
yeah.
he if he would have just stopped trying to kill the last few witnesses and left them assume it was Tommy, because they already Pam when Pam walks into Tommy's room and sees the bodies, she's convinced.
Yeah.
She right there. You don't need Roy Burns never had to appear in the costume after that.
Right.
He could have just walked away and got away scot free.
Mhm.
But when his mistake is showing back up,
Right.
because he never banked on Tommy showing back up,
Mm-hmm.
and Tommy is pretty much a mute in this movie. I mean, he has little to no lines.
Exactly.
And I don't know if you've ever seen the western The Great Silence. Now,
No.
it's a snow western. In it, they hire this French actor,
Okay.
and he they gave him they offered him to do this movie. They really wanted him, and he says, "You know what? I really don't want to have to remember lines."
Mm-hmm.
Now he could talk. He could talk beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what they did. So he didn't have to remember any lines. They just didn't give him any lines. So they made his character mute.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like it's a beautiful western to watch. It's gritty as hell, but it's the fact that they give that guy no lines because he didn't want any. And then you have Tom. I've always found this interesting because Tommy Jarvis might as well be from the movie The Great Silence because he has little to no lines.
Oh, was that the guy that he would write things down on a little piece of paper and hand it to people? Like he would write what he was saying down on a little piece of paper?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay, I have seen that.
Okay.
I forgot what the name. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about now. Very good movie.
And here's the thing. The actor can talk very well.
Yeah.
But he just did not want to remember lines. So they said, we'll make your character mute so you don't have to. It's like, what the fuck?
That's awesome.
Like, could you imagine an actor walk... And here's the thing, Nicolas Cage doesn't have any lines in a movie he just recently did.
Uh-huh.
But that's Nicolas Cage.
Right,
Could
right.
you imagine an actor that no one knows walking into a set of a movie? You know what? I just don't want to remember my lines today.
I'd be like, go home.
Right.
We'll get somebody else.
Right. Right. But they make it work.
They did, because he was a pretty good threatening presence when he was on screen.
Yes. Yes. And just a hell of a shot with a pistol.
Oh, he was.
But so part 5, I know I get everyone off topic as a host.
Oh, yeah, I don't mind.
But part 5, Tommy being mute makes this movie even more suspect to him.
Exactly.
I mean, 5, other than the brief glimpse Roy Burns gives when the boy dies of anger, if the cameraman would have been smart, they wouldn't have shot that at all. But they do. So, but you're still left with the assumption of Tommy, because they do everything to point the finger at him.
Yeah.
And Roy Burns makes the dumbest mistake in killer history. He returns.
Yeah.
I gotta ask you this, and this is tough for me because I've always went back and forth with 5. By this point in time, when Roy comes back, has he mentally been possessed by Jason?
I don't think so.
Okay.
In my opinion, my take from 5 was that Tommy had some kind of he had an obsession with Jason, and he could hear his voice inside his head.
Right.
And to me, I think Roy was just acting on his own and was just completely lost in his grief.
I love that because everything Roy's kills are all like pure just rage. They're pure rage and frustration. So they're just revenge kills for his son. They're aimlessly revenge. I'm killing. They're just going to assume it's Tommy. I'm going to get away with this. I think what I chalk up his return to kill Pamela and Reggie the Reckless, who steals this goddamn movie from everybody.
Great. I love Reggie the Reckless.
The one person in this movie who literally is the hero. I mean, no offense to Tommy. I mean, Tommy does do something, but to me, Reggie is your protagonist in this movie, and which is amazing. But when Roy returns, I think he just returns because he's too. I know he doesn't have any lines under the mask, but he's too cocky.
Yeah.
He's become so confident in his Jason-like kills that he's just too damn cocky, so he returns.
Right.
It's
right.
just,
and I think Roy gets a bad rap, and so does this movie. I mean, I understand it's divisive, and just like Halloween 3, you and I love Halloween 3, but because it doesn't have Michael as the main killer, a lot of people don't give it a fair watch. And I think that Roy was a really good villain. I mean, like you said, he made a definite stupid mistake.
yes, it is.
But I really enjoyed him being as the villain in this movie.
Here's the biggest thing I'll say with the people who hate this movie: get the hell over it.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. It's been 36 years. Yeah, let's move on.
But it just, here's the beautiful part about this. Roy Burns' arrogance is what helps bring him down. Jason, when Jason comes back the next movie, it's not about arrogance. Jason knows I can't die. He knows he can't die no more. So there's a different. Roy should have known. I don't want to push my luck, but with every killer, and way before Roy Burns, freaking Norman Bates does the same thing. He pushes his luck time and time again until he's caught. Really,
Right.
He's more caught really out of bad luck than anything else, and his bad luck is really running into Marion Crane.
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
murdering her, because what he didn't realize is this woman stole money.
Mm-hmm.
Oops.
Right.
You murdered a thief.
And they're definitely going to come looking for her. So yeah.
Right? They're the bank wants their money back. They're her boss wants her money back.
Mm-hmm.
But and here's the thing too, she was gonna repay it, but she was gonna take it back, but she didn't get the chance.
Exactly.
So it's every killer, a human killer really.
Mm-hmm.
And no, Michael Myers does not count because that fucker rarely makes a mistake.
Right.
But God damn him. But just
Well, he like an ungodly patience, and he thinks what he's going to do.
I'm gonna get to something in Halloween 2 here in a minute that's funny, but
Mhm.
he Roy just makes the mistake most human killers would make.
Mhm.
He returns, and if he didn't, he would have got away with it.
Right.
It's that crazy to think how sadistic Five is in setting up someone else to be the killer.
Mhm.
It's a beautiful film. It's really I think that's the thing too. It's very psychological, not just with Tommy seeing Jason, but with the
Mhm.
setup of Tommy.
Mm-hmm. And especially the ending.
Right?
Yeah.
They're in a hospital and the sheriff is standing there and they're showing the newspaper clippings. When Pam looks at the sheriff, you can tell that she doesn't say it, but her face is going, "Oh my God, I was wrong.
Yeah.
I was," because she thought it was him. It was Tommy.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
just
That's a great surprise. To see that he had finally, I guess succumbed to the voice of Jason in
yep,
his
that
head,
too.
and that he was becoming a force to be reckoned with.
Yep. I love the fake sequence, and then they have her come in, and the glass is broken. It looks like a hockey mask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a good fake out.
It was.
Mm-hmm.
It really was. So some people complain about Halloween 2 being set in a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing. Now, I live on the mountains, but the
Mm-hmm.
town that is, near me is very small.
Yeah.
And we have the smallest hospital in the county, okay? Or at least one of them. And
Right.
when you go down there to the ER, there's usually 2 nurses, maybe 3, and 1 doctor. Now that's not exactly, you know, small in a sense, but compared to most hospitals, it is.
It is, and I grew up in the mountains too, and it's a very small town. And we just had like one hospital, and
Yep.
it was very, very scarcely staffed. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. I think most people live near big cities, and when they see a hospital, oh, look at all the staff. Well, yeah, if you
Yeah.
live near a big city or live close to a big hospital,
Mhm.
yeah, you're gonna see a lot of staff. But with smaller hospitals, because they're near small towns, you might not necessarily get that. And that's so when I watched Halloween 2, I watched it from the perspective of Highlands Hospital.
Right. Exactly. That's what I was thinking. My small town brain connected, perfectly with this hospital. I mean, it seemed totally legit to me.
It is. It's just the whole thing is
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, right? It's just
Mm-hmm.
like, and I agree with you about season. Like, I don't get like why people just pick certain movies in the franchise to hate, like Season of the Witch Part 2. It just seems like so nitpicky,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Very.
What What are your thoughts on Zombie Jason?
Um, I think it is kind of cool.
I mean, I definitely have to give a shout out to the makeup department in 6 and 7 because like in 6, 7, and 8, as the movies progressed, he looked more rotten and more disgusting, and I definitely have to give a shout out to them, Tom Savini,
Yeah.
and um, I thought it was kind of cool to have Jason as a zombie. Like they were. Um, I really like that. I mean, not because technically, Tommy did kill him in 4.
Yep.
So thought finding a way to bring him back, as a zombie, that's not what happened with Michael. That's not what happens with Freddy. So that was a unique way, I think, to bring him back.
Have you ever seen the behind the scenes artwork and the behind the scenes stuff and all the on the DVD?
No, I haven't.
Go watch. Especially, I don't know if it's on the Blu-ray, but it was on the original. The original concept for Jason Lives wasn't necessarily Jason. Was supposed to be, everyone thought it was Jason, and who it was gonna be was Elias Voorhees, Jason's dad, and even the caretaker was in on it, that Elias paid him to watch over his son and wife's grave. And so that would have been one hell of an interesting movie. Now, I love what it does eventually do. It does bring Jason back. But I always wondered, man, whatever did happen to Elias Voorhees?
That's true. That's true. Because I got so wrapped up in seeing Jason in action, I kind of forgot about that.
Me and Daniel Culver, I have a theory, and I was telling this to him. And I said, because in Jason Goes to Hell, they reveal the Book of the Dead is used.
Right.
Now, no Deadites are in the Friday the 13th franchise. So it makes me wonder why. Why would no Deadites? Well, because somebody who read from that book had to offer something up of equal exchange for Jason to come back to life.
Right.
So I think Elias Voorhees, or maybe even Pamela, offered her husband's soul, but I think Elias offered his body and soul to the book in exchange for his son to come back.
That's a great theory.
It's like paper. It's paper fucking thin.
But it works.
Right. It's just because here's the thing: no one knows where the hell he is.
Exactly.
That's my when one of my friends asked me, "What's your biggest question in the Friday the 13th franchise?" I said, "I have a ton, but my biggest one is where the hell is Elias Voorhees?" We know where Pamela is now.
Right.
Right? She's dead. But where's the dad?
Who knows?
Right? So, you were saying something about the thick Michael Myers thing.
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah. I was talking about how, which I don't think any of the Myers actors did a bad job.
Right.
I've never really been a big fan of the choice of George P. Wilbur as Michael Myers, because you think of Nick Castle, Dick Warlock, and Don Shanks. I mean, they were average height guys, not smaller frame, but a normal frame. And George P. Wilbur looks like he was a linebacker for the Raiders, and he was like this really big presence. And to me, the horror and the terror of Michael Myers and what makes him so scary was that he was just this normal guy. I'm not going to call him a little guy, but this normal built guy that could do all these horrible things and had incredible evil and strength.
Yep.
And he didn't have to depend on his size like Jason is, someone that's very bulky, and you would expect him to be all muscle. And Michael didn't have to have the muscle. He was always mind over muscle.
I think with 6, because that's where it really stands out.
Mm-hmm.
George P. Wilbur, he's got the walk, right? He's got the stance down. But he's just when he now I think the camera does help at times when they're shooting him from afar. That helps. But when the 2 worst shots. Now I love the scene because it's tense. But the 2 worst shots in 6 are when they're out the window and you see Michael standing and he's thick. He stands out, even in the dark. And Michael should not stand out in the darkness that much.
Right.
But it's because of his size. So I agree with you there. He's more built for Sunday evenings. Right? Sunday afternoons. Well, right. On a football field or in a wrestling ring, David. And by the way, Taylor Maine, who played Michael Myers, was a pro wrestler. So.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Oh my gosh, he was a mountain of a man.
Yes.
Holy crap.
Yep, we're gonna get to him here real quick, real soon. I promise. But it's when they walk across, when they're coming back across from the Myers house, I love the music. I love the tense setting, how it happened. But the worst thing they did was pan back to George P. Wilbur walking across.
Yeah.
Because he's so thick. Now he's don't get me wrong, he's menacing. In the walk,
definitely got a presence.
Right, in the walk, he is a presence, but he's so thick that it's like, man. And again, it's not his fault that they put him in this costume, but it's just it makes you want to go to the director and the producers and go, okay, couldn't you have gotten someone a little less like they looked like a football player?
Right, because, or at least for this one, if you're going to get a close-up shot, you know, have someone stand in just for the close-up.
Right.
And,
Because, and here's the thing, too. When you go back and watch 6, go watch the opening kill of the nurse. This is a telltale sign of what I mean by... And again, I give 6 a 10 because it's just so damn, good to watch. But, and so I don't deduct for Wilbur...
Oh, yeah.
Right, you know what I mean? But when you see the nurse look back, you can sort of make out George P. Wilbur's body before the mask. And
right. It is a distraction.
Right. So it's... Again, they could have went with somebody not as thick. So I agree with you there. It's like... Because they do a worse job by casting Taylor Maine.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm gonna let you take that.
Yeah, which I mean, I understand what Rob had his vision of what he wanted Michael to look like, and I'm going to say, and I loved your video about comparing the similarities of Rob's and John's version of Michael. And I can respect Rob's vision for what he wanted him to be, but to me that just betrayed so much of what made Michael scary.
Here's the things I'll give Rob that 6 didn't do. They didn't try to shoot Rob too many times in front. Taylor in front.
Right.
They shot him over the shoulder, which was smart. Because when you're shooting someone over the shoulder and you're seeing it from their viewpoint, even though he's tall, it's sort of creepy. But the thing where they really start to make their mistakes is when they're having close-ups of him and he's so tall, he's taking up the frame. And again, you can't help what size you are. Right. But I just think that casting somebody, and I get what he was going for, a literal monster. I get it. We get that. It's a literal. He's going for a literal monster. Michael's a literal monster.
Yeah.
Right. But I just think this here, the casting of someone who's that tall, is especially playing a killer who has never been that tall,
Mhm.
is a huge mistake. Now, I want to get to Freddy with you with the casting of the guy who played him in the remake.
Mhm.
What was, I forget his name?
Earl Haley.
Yeah, Jackie Earl Haley. Thank you.
Mhm.
What were your thoughts on him being Freddy?
I thought he was a good Freddy.
Yep.
You know, Robert Englund is irreplaceable, and I mean he can't be beat.
Yeah.
But I just thought, you know, when I saw that they had someone new, I didn't really know who Jackie Earl Haley was at the time, and you know I don't know if most people did. So I went in skeptical, but I thought he did a pretty good job, and I thought he was very, very creepy. He was, you know, doing his best to play it serious, to play it scary, and you know I thought he delivered. The script writers didn't do him, you know, many favors, but I thought he did pretty well.
When you look at Jackie Earl's Freddy, he does everything right in spite of being fucked with.
Yeah.
I mean, in every way, he does it right. But the writers decide to, well, we're not sure if we want to have him actually be the killer when he's already killed.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to meet the person who decided that and go, what the fuck is wrong with you? Because here's the thing: if you're gonna suggest that, and well, I'll get to that in a second. I'm sorry, but
no, you're fine.
Freddy Krueger has been established through Robert Englund up until the remake, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we think of Freddy Krueger, we think of a person who was a father, who we already experienced the shock of that. Of him,
right?
He was a father. Now he's a killer, but he's not just a killer. He's a child molester killer. I think I kind of get what they were trying to do, but it still doesn't make much sense to how they did it. To suggest halfway through the film that he could be innocent. Here's my issue with that. You've already killed too many kids, and even one kid would be too many once you suggest this.
Right.
The name, if you're going to suggest Freddy's innocent, then have him kill nobody. He's still scary enough looking to scare people out of their fucking sleep. Because how they had the makeup was amazing.
Yeah, it was.
Jackie Earl, I love the way what he did. I agree with you. I don't think it was him. He didn't do a bad job.
No, not at all.
And again, he gets the bum rap because too often people look in front of the camera.
Right.
They look who they're looking at. And me being, you know, I'm going to call myself an asshole. I look behind it. Like, wait a second. He didn't write that character.
Right.
But it's amazing to me when I hear people go, well, Jackie Earl did it. I said, no, Jackie Earl didn't do a bad job at all. I disagree. The writers did a very poor job in not helping him. They should have. If you're going to plant seeds for innocence, make sure it's full-blown innocence. If you're going to make it a whodunit, and basically that's what I put that as. That's what you're making. When you're planting the seed that someone might not be the killer, even if it is Freddy, then you're planting a whodunit, not just a slasher. And I feel at times the writers, the biggest mistake they make is trying to make this two different films, trying to make it a whodunit and a slasher at the same goddamn time. That's my bitch about it.
Right. No, I agree with you completely. And the whole, you know, counting on a group of kids to all have amnesia and not remember anything was asking too much.
Yes. Yep. Thank you. Thank
That was
you.
way too much.
Thank you.
Hmm.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. They sell it, but
Mhm.
that many kids
Yeah.
to have amnesia. I mean, and here's the thing: the biggest difference with these kids and the original kids is these kids were actually stuff was done to them and they survived it.
Right.
And for like you said, all of them to have amnesia, it was a stretch.
Yeah.
And again, that's not their fault. It's just what was written,
Hmm.
what's in the script.
Right. That was asking too much I mean, some of them I could go with, but a whole classroom, that's just asking too much.
Even though I hate the overall of what they did from a writing standpoint, I give
Hmm.
this movie a solid 7. Like, you know what I mean? It's good to it's people are gonna kill me for that because you know what I mean. People, oh, how could you? It's a remake because I don't look at what just happened in front of the camera. I mean, yeah,
Hmm.
I'm looking at that, but I'm looking at what the writers just did not do to help this movie.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be at all. And I think I think it's in my ranking of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I liked it better than like Freddy's Revenge,
Yeah.
or Nightmare on Elm Street 2, and I liked it better than Nightmare on Elm Street 5, or just about the same. But um, yeah, I thought it was pretty decent. It wasn't great, but it was not terrible.
No, it wasn't. I don't. I know when I first watched this, my cousin asked me what I thought, and I said, trust me when I say this. I said, none of those people in front of that camera wrote this script. I
Hmm.
said because I said that actors take jobs,
Hmm.
even if the script is shit or
Yeah.
bad or just not great, because
Hmm.
they need to get paid. I know some people might roll their eyes at that,
Hmm.
but a lot of young actors, and there were a lot of young actors in that film.
Hmm.
Again, they're in many ways actors are starving artists.
Hmm.
They have to take what's being given to them and do that movie in
And
order.
make
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, and make it work.
Right. No, exactly. They have to make it work and go with what they're given because this is their paycheck.
Hmm.
This is their payday. Whether the movie bombs or not, they're going to get fucking paid.
Right.
But it is what it is, unfortunately, sometimes in Hollywood.
Right. And I mean, you imagine yourself as an actor trying to make it. Who wouldn't jump for a chance to be in the Nightmare on Elm Street movie?
Right, because when you hear the name, the franchise is large.
Yeah.
Right, the franchise name itself is selling, and because
Hmm.
who do you know who's coming when you hear Nightmare on Elm Street? Freddy,
Hmm.
and
Exactly.
those are two selling points. It's sort of like years later when another Halloween gets announced, after this trilogy, everyone's going like, I'll be there.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So, what were your thoughts on Kane Hodder's Jason?
Kane Hodder's Jason. I think he's not my favorite.
Okay.
I'll say that right away. He's not my favorite. He's a close second. I love Kane Hodder's Jason. I thought he had the physique, and he just brought, I mean, everything he brought to it. The way he moved, the way he attacked. Um, I think he made Jason very, very methodical
Yeah.
in ways that he hadn't been before.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought Kane Hodder is the. I love watching Kane as Jason.
Yep. My favorite Jason. Well, I'm gonna cheat. It's not Jason. It's Pamela.
Gotcha.
but, it, but by the way, to Lynn, You're going down. You're going down, girl. Going down. Gonna break in half. No.
That's right.
I'm gonna trash talk while she's not here because I'll hear about it on Twitter.
Yeah, you're in safe distance away.
Right. I'll see the hashtags. I'll see the trash talk back on Twitter. I'm like, I don't remember that in the video at all. I misremember everything. What? No, Mark was hosting it.
Exactly. That'll be up to the buzz.
Right. Oh my God. But do you think Robert just set an all-time rock star, like feel to Freddy?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's the biggest difference between where someone's playing Michael, Jason, or Freddy. And I think that's where Jackie Earle Haley also sort of got it in the teeth, right? Because when you hear someone's replacing Robert Englund, it's not that they're just replacing Robert Englund. Where you could put someone in the Myers mask and costume, and I think they could literally be Michael Myers. You wouldn't complain unless you knew you knew better to what height like we talked about the height and stuff. But if they have the right height and they're doing the walk and all the other things, it's perfect. Same thing with Jason. But with Freddy is a whole nother image.
Right.
Because Robert, in every fan's mind, and I don't blame them, he's Freddy and Freddy's him.
Right. And to me, Robert is to Freddy what Christopher Reeve is to Superman.
Yes, 1000%.
So I mean, other people can play them, but I think in a lot of people's mind, they automatically, in their mind's eye, they see Christopher Reeve as Superman when you hear Superman, and you hear Freddy Krueger and you think of Robert Englund, with that crazy smile that he's got.
Yeah, that's just the thing that I think anybody at that time who was going to be put in that role, they were going to be judged harshly.
Yeah.
And again, is that fair to Jackie? No.
Absolutely not.
No. I think, and I've said this, if they announce a Nightmare on Elm Street reboot again, I would go grab Nicolas Cage to play Freddy. Because right now he's been in a lot of horror.
Yeah.
And he hasn't really played too many antagonists in his horror movies. He's played mostly protagonists.
Right.
I feel at times Nicholas is sort of being set up as the Henry Fonda of horror, where Henry Fonda turned villain in my favorite Western, Once Upon a Time in the West. Thank you. But I think they're sort of somewhat, not intentionally, but accidentally setting up Nicolas Cage for the biggest heel turn in horror, and the perfect heel turn would be one Freddy Krueger.
I think that would be good, and I really like your idea of the Springwood slasher of a prequel. I think that would be the smartest way to go.
I think it would too. I mean, it's not a sympathetic story either. This isn't a sympathy story at all.
No Freddy cracking jokes or anything like that.
Right.
This, no one-liners in this one.
No, there wouldn't. I think he would be somewhat sort of, not jokingly about the kids, but joking about other things. And that where maybe he does have a sense of humor, but I don't think there will be the one-liners. I agree with you there.
Yeah.
It
I think it would be an endearing part of his personality that people would come to trust, and they know that he's a funny guy, he has a sense of humor, and I think that would be a good cover for his his whole persona, kind of like a Hannibal thing.
Yep. I agree. I think the one thing I take away from it the most with Freddy is that they cannot be again, and they weren't in the remake to replace Robert, but just because you had a film bomb, you really need or a film not do great and get poor fan reception and get shit on,
Mm-hmm.
You cannot be afraid to if you, because I think the biggest question is going to be, will Robert come back to Freddy?
Yeah.
That's going to, no matter if a remake gets announced or not,
Mm-hmm.
everyone's going to be like, please go get Robert.
Right.
And here's the thing: Robert has went back and forth so many times
Mm-hmm.
with whether he'll play Freddy or not again.
Right.
If he does, great,
Mm-hmm.
great. But if he doesn't, you need to be prepared to go get an actor.
Right.
So, who would you get?
Ooh. I know a lot of people are throwing around that they want Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
Right.
I don't know about that. I would like to see a fresh face, somebody that I have no idea who they are.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the thing. I mean, Robert Englund was known for television roles when he did Freddy. I mean, Invasion, the original Invasion. He was in an episode of MacGyver. So was Jackie Earle Haley,
Mm-hmm.
the original,
Right.
the original one. But I mean, he wasn't. Robert Englund was not a big time star when he got the role.
Right.
He became one.
Mm-hmm.
He made Freddy the name that he is.
Exactly.
And Jack Earl, I think, could have did the same thing if given if he would have had more competent writers. But
True. Yeah. Anybody can have a Wes Craven writing their story.
exactly, yeah. I think that's just it. Wes, don't get me wrong, Robert sold his ass off, but
Mm-hmm.
he had Wes Craven. He didn't have to worry. And here's the thing too. I think the biggest, he didn't have to worry about two shit writers.
Exactly.
Or to me, here's the thing. If that would have been Robert Englund in the remake playing Freddy, and those writers would have handed him that script, he'd have told them to take it and shove it up their ass.
Yeah, he would have.
He's not gonna play that way.
No, not.
They're not. Listen, there would have been no way in hell he would have did that.
I don't think so either.
Jackie, I think, is just doing it because he's doing a job.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, a lot of times actors will be the good soldier.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because they have to be.
Right.
They're showing, hey, I can cooperate with this shit. So remember that I cooperated with your shit.
Right. Exactly. Just like George Clooney with Batman.
Yeah, that there, God, you had to go there. Oh my God. Good night, lady. No.
Yeah.
But listen, that there, George Clooney not researching the role.
Mm-hmm.
That. I think the biggest problem with the Batman franchise through the 90s, and I don't think Val Kilmer did a bad job, but they kept interchanging Batman by that point. What was that? Go ahead. I'm sorry, you were breaking up.
Oh no, I didn't say anything else. I was just agreeing with you.
Oh, sorry, but who? See, now the thing is with the Shadow, there's been many Shadow movies. I don't know if you've known this, but there was ones in the 40s. And
Right.
to me, the best Shadow movie, I love the one in the 90s, but there was one with, I think, Victor Jory that was really amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the one in the 90s. I love Baldwin's performance. He did a great job. They did a very great nod to the pulps and everything else. That actually, the bridge sequence in the movie, if you read The Living Shadow, that is sort of taken from Harry Vincent. the original, one of the OG Shadow agents. Now it's not Harry Vincent, obviously, in the movie. It's someone else. It's another Shadow agent, but Roy Tan, who is from the comics, the pulps, but Harry Vincent's story is sort of set on the Brooklyn Bridge, where they're picking the movie up from.
Right.
Now, the difference is Harry Vincent doesn't have his feet in cement. He's standing on the Brooklyn Bridge. He's going to commit suicide because his wife left him. He's broke. Everything's in hock. And the Shadow pulls him up back over the rail. And when Harry Vincent spins around, he swears he's staring at death itself.
Yeah.
Because the Shadow's got this freaking all in black. He's got the fedora. I mean, the brim hat. It's not a fedora, but it's a brim down hat. I mean, he's. Am I dead? No, but you're about to become an agent of the Shadow. So he puts him in the car and he tells him, your life you own, because the Shadow doesn't want to thank you. This isn't Batman. This isn't Batman. Oh, thank you. No. When the Shadow saves your ass, he sends you the bill, and you owe him for the rest of it.
Right.
You work for him. There's no argument. But and here's the thing: he's lost agents before, so I mean, you're putting yourself at great risk when he saves your life. It's one of the damnedest things, but oh goodness. So yeah, some of Harry Vincent's story is in the 90s movie when they start off on the Brooklyn Bridge, but it's not Harry Vincent. I do wish they would put, if they do another Shadow movie, please, for number one, don't do the Robert Pattinson book. It's a piece of shit. The Shadow reboot. I read it. It fucking sucks.
Oh, I haven't read it.
It's awful. Everything in it, every Shadow mythos is all but spit on.
Right.
Like everything Walter B. Gibson built.
Oh, that's frustrating.
You know what I mean? From the he doesn't have the mind he can manipulate minds that turn invisible, but he can also cloud men's minds and manipulate them. And he doesn't really do a bunch of that in the book. He doesn't have the dual revolvers that he carries. He doesn't have the cackling laugh, the evil laugh. He doesn't wear the brim down hat or the clothes, the red scarf. None of that. Everything was shit canned in this book, and it sucked.
That's frustrating.
It's like usually I would applaud for someone trying to make a character their own, or somewhat,
Yeah.
But this, it didn't. It felt more like you were spitting on the character than you were helping him. And to attach a teenager to him to boot wasn't the best idea either.
Yeah.
I mean, she herself has abilities, and I won't spoil it for you, but what the twist is, but I'll say this: Robert Pattinson rushed this and should not have wrote this story. To me, I would have loved to have wrote a Shadow story and started it off with a man sitting in his house and there's a gun sitting in front of him and he's going to commit suicide. I'm paying tribute to Harry Vincent in a weird way. But as he goes to grab the gun and he picks it up, he pulls the trigger and he hears a click. And he checks the chamber and it's unloaded. And he hears an evil laugh. And he goes, "Who's there? Who's there?" He's looking, like, the whole room's dark. He can't, nothing. He hears laughter, but he sees nothing.
Wow.
And that, to me, is how he's meeting the Shadow, really. But the Shadow doesn't show himself. He just says, "Do you want justice for what was done to your son? If you do, you should pick up this morning's paper Mr. Edwards. And he laughs and then he leaves. And when he picks up the paper, he sees the man has been hung from his neck, like hung from a building. And the police rolled a suicide because they're idiots and they don't know it's the Shadow that murdered him. But what the Shadow got out of him was his distributors. The Shadow got information out of the guy before he killed him, because the Shadow is, in a sense, evil but good.
Right.
So, next thing he meets one of the Shadow's agents who approach him and go, "I was visited by a strange man, by a voice." "Yeah, you'll have that." "Well, who is he?" "I don't know." "Where does he live?" "I don't know." "Is he from America?" "I don't know." "Is he from New York?" "I don't know." "What do you know?" "I know he pays me very well, and he'll pay you very well. Just do your goddamn job." like, keep the mystery of who the Shadow is.
Exactly.
You don't need. Walter Gibson did that beautifully. And that would be my suggestion to anybody who does a Shadow movie is, you don't need to reveal who the Shadow is. Just know he's out there and he'll make shit happen. And he's the one person, if you want one person to avenge you, he's it.
He's the guy.
He is. He really is, man. But who would you cast as maybe Batman or the next Superman?
I'm curious to see how Robert Pattinson is going to do as Batman.
Right.
Be honest with you, I don't know. I was never really a big fan of Zack Snyder's DC universe. I'm not going to say he did a bad job.
Right.
I thought Ben Affleck was a pretty good Batman. I never really liked Henry Cavill very much as Superman. So I haven't got to watch the Superman and Lois show yet, which I've heard it's fantastic. Shout out to Fred Barnabas. He's recommended the show to me a lot. I don't know. I guess I haven't really thought about it in a while. I don't know. Who would you think?
I think they need to find an actor who doesn't necessarily have to be so muscular. You know what I mean? You have to have a certain build, but not so, you know what I mean?
Right.
If you can find anything close to Christopher Reeve, that would be great. Other than that, leave me the hell alone.
Right.
I know, but, and I'm not trying to say you have to be Christopher Reeve. I'll say this. Christopher Reeve, the way they did his Superman, the way he did it, he knew how to catch Lois Lane. He didn't do it with the full speed force he knew when to slow down and catch her.
Right.
Now they just have him whoosh. And that, again, that's not the person playing Superman. That's a choreography and the CGI and shit and just being not good.
Right.
So they need to, whoever they get, they need to go back and watch the 78 film and those sequels and watch exactly what they did do with Christopher Reeve's Superman. And that was, the Man of Steel is just that. He's a man of steel.
Right.
So if he catches a woman at fucking full speed, he's gonna hurt her.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
This is somebody with super strength who can bend a car in half with his fucking pinky.
Exactly.
For fuck's sake. So don't have him go full speed catching a woman. Know when to slow down, and he catches her. That's part of it. That's my advice.
I agree.
Just like if whoever plays the Shadow, do an evil laugh, be invisible, and fuck with people so mentally they think they're crazy.
Exactly.
That's it. That's your and know how to shoot know how to shoot dual 45s. God damn it. That's it.
There you go.
Because the Shadow was one of the finest marksmen ever. The cinder block scene, the cement block scene proves it. When he aims at those feet, boom, 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 boom. Alec Baldwin did a beautiful job.
Yeah.
But I would love to see Tom Hiddleston, Adam Driver, fucking be the Shadow. But I don't know if I'll get that. Not the book I just read, mind you. God no, you make that shit. I won't even bother to buy a ticket.
Right.
But make something really, really good from maybe the pulps, one of the old pulp stories or something, for God's sakes.
Right.
So that's my biggest. Is there anything you want to add horror wise?
Oh, I'm fine with this. I've enjoyed every minute of this.
Okay. Good.
Okay, I've got a question for you.
Okay.
What is your favorite film from each of the big three?
I think, again, this isn't just because it's the best one, but John Carpenter's Halloween is my favorite out of Halloween. I love it. If I had to pick a number 2, an honest to goodness number 2, and I'm not saying this because it's the next film, I'm going to pick Halloween 2. And Halloween 3, and then I'm probably going to go 6, Resurrection, 5, 4, and then H2O in 2018, because I just feel that though I know people give Resurrection a lot of grief, there are things in it that here's what I'll say too with that. The biggest problem Resurrection has, there's 2. How they kill Laurie Strode. Not the fact that they do it. How they do it. Number 2, it takes them the whole goddamn film, to establish Freddy Harris as a babyface.
Yeah.
And I get why they do it, because this is not the first protagonist they've kept in the dark. Kept mysterious. So to speak. They're sort of playing the Shadow without having the fucking Shadow there. But
Good. Well.
Right. You don't have to keep every protagonist that dark, that mysterious. Add some context. And the one thing I always point to this, the biggest missed opportunity they had was when he was in his hotel apartment. Instead of just having her stand at the door, have him invite her the hell in. Sit Sarah Moyer down, because Sarah Moyer wants to leave the show, wants to leave before the show ever starts. What I took away from Freddie Harris in the whole film was he hates to lose.
Yeah.
Well, why? Because it happened to him before. Something happened to this character before to make him a certain way. It's the same thing with every protagonist that you'll ever see in movies. If a character is a certain way, it's because something's happened to them.
Exactly.
And I think there's where they could have had him tell her, I quit something once. Don't be me. And she goes, well, what do you mean? And he pulls out this box, and he opens it, and in that box is a bunch of first place martial arts trophies. And she goes, wow, you were really good. He goes, yeah, I was. And then he pulls out that second place trophy. And I'm going to give a great Dale Earnhardt quote. Second place is like the first place loser to some people, to athletes in general. That second place trophy hurt his confidence. It made him quit being a martial artist. It made him quit. He quit because of it. And he tells her this, I quit the one thing I love to do the most because I failed. I felt I failed everyone else, including myself. You don't want to have that feeling. Don't be me. And you could have connected your audience with him a
Mhm.
lot sooner than what you did.
Right.
That
I agree.
people are too busy pointing out the fight sequence as their problem instead of going back and go, well, where was the character development?
Because having him there on his own turf, 5 minutes could have really done a whole lot for his character.
Right. That's a lot of the problem with certain sequels. If you spend just 5 minutes doing that one thing to establish a character's context of who they are or how they got here, of who they are, then you're going to connect them with an audience.
Right.
And that's something you did with your Phoenix story. Like, you connected me with your character right away.
Mm-hmm.
And even at the end, I felt something for him either way.
Right.
And again, it's with sequels, I don't know why this isn't done. You know what I mean? All the time. And again, I give Resurrection an 8.5. But the reason I can't give it higher than that is because the writers do not do Freddie Harris a lot of favors. They don't do that character. Busta Rhymes improvises a lot of stuff, and I don't blame him. It's the same thing with A Nightmare on Elm Street remake. I can't blame the actor for what the writers didn't do.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
What's your favorite one of the original of the Halloween?
The first one, the original is my favorite for Halloween, for the Halloween series. I sometimes go back and forth where I want to put Halloween 2 above it, but I can't. Halloween 2 is my go-to horror movie.
Yep.
I love watching it and have so much fun watching it. But I have to say my favorite is the original John Carpenter Halloween, hands down.
Yep. My favorite for A Nightmare on Elm Street, I love the original to death.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna go Dream Warriors because
that's a tough call to make.
It is. I think you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Either way. But I think Dream Warriors was just the perfect sequel to an amazing franchise. But that's where I'll put mine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to say the original wins out for me on that one because I love seeing. I love all the characters and all of the Dream Warriors in Part 3, and I think of all of them. I think Kincaid is probably about my favorite of the Dream Warriors, but I just there's something about Nancy that I love her character so much, and I love getting to see her be the one, in a more active role than a motherly role that she takes in Dream Warriors. But I love that original. I love Nancy Thompson. She is probably my favorite Final Girl, and I love the way she finds out things about Freddy and goes after him and goes hunting for him in the dream world. And she's not without fear, but she's fearless to be able to do that because there are no natural laws in the dream world, and anything and everything could happen, and Freddy can make anything and everything happen, but she still goes looking for him. And there's just something about that movie that I absolutely love. So I've got to say I'm going to give the edge to the original.
For Friday the 13th, I'm going to go with their original because I just don't think Betsy Palmer gets enough credit. But the film I'm going to put right behind it, and I'm not doing this because of Halloween, I think Sack Mash Jason is scary as shit.
Yes, he is.
And
that's my favorite.
Yep, deserves a lot of credit for what Jason would ultimately go on to be.
Mhm.
But I'm gonna put those two right there, 1 and 2.
Yeah, I agree. I love. For me, my favorite Friday the 13th movie is Part Two. Um, I love. Getting. I mean, we still get a little bit of Pamela Voorhees in the beginning,
Yep.
um, and I love the sack face Jason and what he did, like having his mother's head there at the altar. That he had like this hidden shrine deep in the woods, and he killed people and dragged them there. And I loved Jenny as the final girl. I thought Amy Steele was really good. But I liked all the characters in Friday the 13th Part Two, and I thought a lot of the kills were really good and very creative. And I just I love Friday the 13th Part Two.
If I had to put a movie third in the franchise,
Mm-hmm.
and people are gonna kill me for this, but I don't really give a shit. I'm gonna put Part 5 ahead of the final chapter.
Mm-hmm.
I love the final chapter. It's a great movie,
Yeah,
but 5 has so much psychology, as much, if not more, than the original.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason I'll ever edge the original over everything is because Betsy Palmer's performance in it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I would rank those.
Mm-hmm.
Where's yours, man?
And that's great. And my favorite, I love like the character of Sackface Jason the best, but my favorite actor that was Jason was in probably my least favorite movie. It was Derek Mears in the 2009 Killer Touch. I thought Derek Mears was a fantastic Jason. I loved seeing him as a hunter.
I've always given that a 7.5,
Mm-hmm.
and I think Friday the 13th, the reboot, the remake reboot, is almost a love letter to Dark Shadows in some ways, because the woman that he kidnaps, he looks at her as a reincarnation of his mother.
Right.
Sort of the way Barnabas looks at the reincarnation of Maggie of Josette. It's like, hey, I've seen this before.
Right, exactly.
So I get it. Where that movie kills me is its end. Jason popping out of the water, like it's never been done before, and it's been done so much.
Mm-hmm.
If I could have given them out of you know what you do, you have the woman see Jason, and she blacks out. When she comes to, she's in jail, or he's in jail, whoever you want to put in jail, for the murders. They don't believe Jason's alive. They don't believe Jason's out there. And then you have a Part 2. Not that bullshit jumping out of the water.
Right. Exactly.
But did you see Derek Mears' Swamp Thing? Oh my God, he was good.
I heard he was. I haven't got to see it yet, but I heard he was great as Swamp Thing.
To Derek Mears, thank you. Thank you to DC for canceling it. Kiss my ass. Kiss my ass. From the bottom of my heart to you, to DC. Kiss my ass. That's fine. But yeah, I just think that Derek Mears did a great. I agree with you. He did a great job. I love the outfit. I love how they made him look. I think everything, that film was lined up to be perfect. It really was, until the end.
Exactly.
And
I agree 100%.
That's a movie when I watch all the Friday the 13th, that's a movie I enjoy with the franchise as much as the others, because I don't feel it's bad. It has a disappointing end, but there are a lot of movies I could point to that have disappointing endings.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. I mean, a lot of movies I enjoy that do have disappointing endings. So yeah, I understand. But yeah, I loved listening to Jason, or not Jason, to Derek describing how he, when he grew up, that he always felt sympathy for Jason because of the disease he has, where he has, very little to no hair, and he had it at a very early age. And he said that, I felt like a lot like Jason growing up.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool, hearing a personal connection with the character. And I think that made him, do a really good job when he stepped in the role.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that Derek Mears did a superb job as Jason, and deserves a lot more love for it. I think it's all too easy to shit on a reboot or a remake at times. You know what I mean? I think that's so much what I'll call horror fan instinct.
Right.
And I think that just needs to stop. There are exceptions like Rob Zombie, but here's the thing. I said, hey, I went to go to the. By the way, I loved what I said. I went back and watched it, and I did. And I love what you put unsubscribed. I thought, dude, I was laughing so hard, I was tearing up. And she goes, "What?" My wife's like, "What are you laughing at?" I said, "Mark." I was laughing so hard. I was like, I was waiting for you to call me like, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah. Yeah, I decided to pretend I was like the angry YouTuber doing the comments, so that was fun.
Right.
It's what people do over stuff like that.
It's like, and here's the thing. I did not want to go back and watch it, but my wife reminded me. She goes, you are doing a comparison. And I said, yeah, god damn it, I'm going to have to fucking watch it. Because I haven't seen it in so fucking long. Right. And it's like, I can't even remember the last time I did see it prior to that. And now I'm blocking it out of my mind when I saw it, I think, a week ago. Oh, no, I remembered. But it's like I'll block it out of my mind maybe not after this. But it is what it is. When you do like any comparison, like if you haven't seen something, I gotta go back and watch that shit.
Right, exactly. And there are movies that that like reboots and things that I necessarily don't want to go back to, and then I'm like, well, maybe I was being too harsh on it. There's been a few that have gone by, and I'll go back and watch it. I'm like, no, I was right the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the worst reboot you've seen?
Horror or not?
In general.
Let me see. Oh my goodness. Probably, I would have to say Prom Night would be one of them.
Yeah.
Prom Night, or and I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this. I was not a big fan of, and I guess I can't really call it a reboot, but the movie Man of Steel. I just don't like. I've tried, and I understand Zack Snyder's vision of wanting to make Superman more alien and emo and fish out of water, but I can't get into that movie.
I think if they were gonna do that, make him more fish out of water. I love the best thing they did to do that, to establish it. Where the movie stopped being good is when they killed Kevin Costner's character and made him feel like now he felt, he's trying to see and experience the world. They should have made that the biggest part. They should have made this not a movie, as a TV series, and done it where he's going around the world, working, seeing the world, seeing humanity.
Right.
and not trying to understand what it is. Honestly, what it is. If you're going to make, yes, we know Superman's a goddamn alien. We've known that forever.
Exactly.
But
right.
but you can try to relate that even more to your audience. That's fine. Well, then take the time to do that.
Right.
Instead of just making this action movie about alien. This felt like an Independence Day movie at times.
It did. It really did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what about you? What's your least favorite remake?
Oh god, it's got to be Rob Zombie's Halloween.
Yeah, I was going to say that's another one.
I'll tell you my least favorite movie ever that I do want to see remade.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called Vampire. And it's from the 30s. And it's about this drifter who's supposed to be obsessed with the supernatural. There's a small problem with that. Yeah, he's not obsessed. He becomes it, and you have no idea what his purpose is in the fucking film until it's like all but done. It's like, really? Like,
yeah.
Like, you could not. I mean, the cinematography is trippy, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
But they needed to tell a way better story.
Yeah.
The film relies on its cinematography a lot. And I get why. Because, again, you're sort of trying to keep the... It's not a silent film. You're trying to not have the character reveal too much about himself. But here's the thing. This is almost... This could have been, like, if they made this right, this could have been like a Castlevania movie where it's the Belmonts, one of the Belmonts coming in as a drifter. But this idiot who has no idea what the vampire is, why should he be obsessed again?
Yeah.
It's like, it makes no sense at times.
Right.
The cinematography is trippy and cool to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, no.
There's no payoff for watching it.
Not for me, no.
Yeah.
Not for no. I'd like to choke the people who made the movie for not telling a story other than with their camera and like very little fucking dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this isn't a silent film. I've watched silent film and the guy does talk, and when he talks, it's like so low you have to pay attention to understand him.
Right.
And it's not like, I put the subtitles on and he was talking so low the subtitles weren't even picking up.
Oh, wow.
It's like, what the fuck?
Oh, that's frustrating.
It's like, my wife's like, I thought you turned the subtitles on. Yeah, I did, honey.
Didn't do any good.
I did. But is there anything you want to add before we go, man?
No, man, I'm good. Thank you so much for this. This has been a blast.
Man, Mark, I always have a good time with you, man. These are fun. Link to Mark's channel is going to be in the description box. And to Lynn Gilman, you're lucky, girl. You're lucky you weren't here for the video. I'd have took you down, girlfriend. I took you down. But, no, Lynn, have a great night. Mark, man, you have a great night, and God bless, man.
You too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Well, guys, that was our video. You guys have a good one. Good night.